The mirror in front of you reflected everything you never wanted to see: a bride in white satin, her lips painted soft pink, her eyes are rimmed with gold and grief. You stare at your own reflection as the makeup artist applied the final touches, and all you could think was how much you wanted to rip it all off. Would you like your hair in loose curls, ma'am, or a soft one? The hairstylist asked politely, unaware that every innocent question felt like a blade against your heart. You met your eyes through the mirror and forced a smile that didn't reach your eyes, whichever makes me look less like someone happy to get married. You muttered in a voice sharp enough to cut glass. The room went silent for a beat. The poor stylist gave a nervous chuckle, pretending she hadn't heard the bitterness dripping from your tone. But you knew she did. Everyone did. You had been fighting this marriage from the moment you heard his name, John Jungkook, your high school enemy. The boy who once humiliated you in front of the whole class. The boy you secretly liked before he dated your best friend. Your ex best friend, the same girl who was no longer in this world. You closed your eyes, the weight of that truth pressing against your chest. She wasn't supposed to die. You weren't supposed to lose her before knowing why she did what she did. Why she chose him over you, why she broke your trust like that. And now, fate had decided to twist the knife deeper, forcing you to marry the same man she once loved. A knock came on the door. You didn't have to look to know who it was. Can I come in? Your father's voice, calm, steady, as if he hadn't destroyed your world with a single decision. You didn't respond. You kept your eyes fixed on your reflection, blinking back the tears that burned at the corners. He entered anyway, adjusting his tie, his face wary but firm. You look beautiful, he said softly. Save it. You cut him off, your voice cold and trembling. You don't get to say that when you are the reason I'm wearing this dress. He sighed, stepping closer. I know you are angry. Angry? You let out a dry laugh. No, Dad. Angry was 3 weeks ago when I found out you made a deal behind my back. Angry was when I begged you to let me choose my own life. This? You gestured at your dress, at the room, at yourself. This is beyond angry. This is me giving up. His shoulders sagged, and for the first time he looked older than you had ever seen him. You don't understand. I'm doing this for your future, for stability, for your business. You snapped, finally turning to face him. Don't dress it up with fancy words. You are marrying me off like a pawn to save your company, not because you care about my future. The silence that followed was suffocating. Even the sound of your own heartbeat felt too loud. He opened his mouth, trying to find something to say, something that might undo the hurt, but nothing came out, so you gave him the words instead, cruel and sharp. You already replaced mom with your perfect wife. You said, your voice breaking despite your effort to sound strong. Now you are replacing my happiness with your pride. Congratulations, Dad, you are consistent. He flinched as if you had struck him, but you didn't care. You were too tired to. He left without saying another word. The click of the door closing behind him felt like a final goodbye. You turned back to the mirror, your reflection now blurry through the tears you refused to wipe away. You weren't marrying out of love. You weren't marrying for peace. You were marrying because your father decided your pain was a fair price to pay. And the man waiting for you at the end of the aisle, John Jungkook, was the last person you ever wanted to see again. But fate didn't care because in less than an hour you would be standing beside him saying vows you didn't mean to a man who had already stolen your heart once and shattered it beyond repair. The music swelled and the heavy doors opened. Every head turned toward you. The bride in white, the daughter of the powerful businessman, the perfect picture of grace and submission, but only you knew how much it burned inside. Each step you took toward the altar felt like walking through the ashes of your own choices. The hem of your gown brushed against the red carpet, and you could hear faint whispers, admiration, curiosity, pity. You didn't care. Because standing at the end of the aisle was him, John Jungkook. He looked exactly the way you remembered, and yet entirely different. The soft edges of boyhood had long sharpened into the calm arrogance of a man. A dark suit framed his broad shoulders, his expression unreadable, cold, almost lifeless, but his eyes, when your gaze finally met his, time stuttered. It was just a moment, a heartbeat, suspended in air, but in that moment a thousand unspoken things passed between you. You didn't say it, but your eyes did. I hate that it's you. And he replied without a word, I didn't choose this either. Still, beneath that coldness, there was something else, something flickering, raw, buried deep, like an echo of the past neither of you wanted to remember. He looked away first, you forced your feet to move, each step feeling heavier than the last until you reached him. You didn't say hello, you didn't smile, he didn't either. The priest began to speak, his words like distant echoes, you barely heard them, vows, promises, eternity, all meaningless. You only heard the sound of your own breath, uneven and shaky. When it came time to exchange rings, your fingers trembled slightly, but Jungkook's grip was steady, firm, almost too firm. The cool metal slipped onto your finger and you caught a glimpse of his jaw tightening. You wanted to believe it was annoyance, but a small, traitorous part of you wondered if it was pain. Do you, John Jungkook, take? Yes. He interrupted. His voice was calm, controlled, detached. Your heart clenched. Of course, he wouldn't hesitate. He never did. When the question came to you, you almost couldn't breathe. Your lips parted, but the words wouldn't come. You glanced up. His eyes were already on you, cold, waiting, expecting. And yet there it was again, the silent storm that left behind his gaze. Something you couldn't name. I do. You forced out, the crowd clapped, your father smiled from the front row, your stepmother dabbed fake tears at the corner of her eyes. The priest announced you husband and wife, but you felt nothing but the suffocating weight of a bond that wasn't made of love, but of circumstances, secrets, and the ghost of the past. When Jungkook leaned in to kiss you, a ceremonial kiss, a performance for the crowd, his lips brushed your cheek instead of your lips. It was brief, careful, yet the warmth of his breath lingered longer than it should have. You stepped back, your eyes met once again. And this time, what passed between you wasn't anger or hate, it was something far more dangerous, understanding. Because even without saying a word, you both knew this marriage wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of something darker, something deeper, something neither of you could control. The mansion was silent when you arrived, a silence too polished, too practiced, like it belonged to a place that had forgotten what warmth felt like. The wedding was over, the guests were gone, and now there was nothing left to hide behind. You stepped into the room, your room now, as everyone kept calling it, and the word itself made you want to laugh. Nothing about this felt like yours. The bed was neatly made, draped in white silk, two glasses of champagne set waiting on the table. Candles flickered faintly by the window as if the world was mocking you. You stood still, staring at it all for a long time, the proof that everyone expected you to play the role of a wife tonight. But you weren't anyone's wife. You were a prisoner dressed in lace. You turned around, shutting the door behind you. Then you locked it, slowly, deliberately. The metallic click echoed through the room, final and sharp. Moments later, you heard footsteps outside, heavy, steady, and too familiar. A second later, his voice came, low, controlled, but not calm. Open the door. You froze, your hand still on the lock. Vian, open the door. This time, there was an edge in his tone, not pleading, not angry, just tired. You closed your eyes, pressing your forehead against the cold wood. Go sleep somewhere else. You said quietly, I don't care where. A pause, then he let out a sharp, humorless laugh. You are kidding, right? My stuff is in there. This is my room. Not tonight. It's not. He exhaled sharply from the other side, and you could almost picture it, the way his jaw tightened when he was trying to hold himself together. Then came the sound of his hand hitting the door, once and hard. Don't make a scene, he muttered. You let out a bitter laugh. A scene? What scene, Jungkook? Everyone already saw it. The perfect wedding, the fake smiles, the vows that meant nothing. The show is over. Open the damn door, he said again, this time his voice low enough to send a chill down your spine. You didn't move. Silence followed, heavy, tense, filled with the weight of years neither of you ever talked about. He spoke again, softer now. You think I wanted this? Your heart clenched at the quiet anger in his voice. No. You said, your voice cracking despite yourself, but you didn't say no either. The silence after that felt deafening. You sank down on the other side of the door, your gown pooling around you like spilled snow. You could feel his presence, the faint sound of his breathing, the soft thud when he leaned his head against the door too. Neither of you spoke for a long while. It was strange. The door that divided you was thin, yet it felt like miles of distance between two people who used to share something unspoken. You closed your eyes. For a second, you wanted to ask him if he remembered the last time your paths crossed before everything fell apart, but the words stayed trapped in your throat. When he finally spoke again, his voice quieter, almost broken. You still hate me that much, huh? You swallowed hard. Hate would have been easier. He didn't reply. Maybe he didn't know how to. After a while, his footsteps faded, slow, tired. You heard the faint creak of the couch outside as he sat down, sighing deeply. You curled up on the cold floor, your wedding gown still on, your makeup smudged, your heart aching. Tonight, you both shared the same house, that same silence, but not the same world. And as the candlelight flickered against the locked door, one truth became painfully clear. You could keep the door closed tonight, but you couldn't keep the past from finding its way back in. From the very start of the day, nothing went right. The morning light slipped through the heavy curtains, falling across the mess of discarded flowers and half empty champagne glasses. You had slept barely an hour, still in your wedding dress, your hair undone, mascara dried on your cheeks. When you finally opened the door, Jungkook was there, sitting on the couch outside, still in yesterday's suit. His tie was loose, his expression unreadable, but the dark circles under his eyes gave him away. He looked up as soon as he heard the latch click. Hope you have slept well. My parents are downstairs waiting for us. They want to have breakfast together. You didn't answer. You walked back inside toward the dresser. He followed you, your fingers trembling as you reached for your clothes. Ryan, at least pretend everything is fine, for their sake. You turn around slowly, meeting his eyes in the mirror. For their sake? You repeated. You mean the same people who forced us into this? Who treated my life like a business transaction? He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. You don't understand. No, Jungkook. You cut in sharply. I understand too well. You want me to smile, sit quietly beside you, act like a perfect wife so no one gets uncomfortable. But tell me, you turn fully to face him. Why should I care about anyone's comfort when no one cared about mine? He stepped closer, his voice lowering. Because it's not going to help if you start a scene. We just got married yesterday. You laughed bitterly. Don't worry. Everyone already saw enough scenes yesterday. What's one more? His jaw tightened. I'm serious, Wayne. My mother is already fragile. And your father can live with it. You said flatly. He's the reason we are standing here, pretending. He stared at you for a long moment, frustration and something else flickering in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, though you refused to look long enough to be sure. Finally, he said quietly, you are not the only one who lost control of your life. That stopped you. You blinked, caught off guard by the weariness in his tone. Not arrogance, not coldness. just quiet exhaustion. But before you could say anything, he straightened his posture again, putting the walls back up. Just get ready, we'll go down together. You met his gaze, a war silently wagging between defiance and fatigue. Then, with a sharp breath, you looked away. If you want to play happy husband, you murmured, brushing your hair. Do it alone. I'm not interested in performing anymore. He didn't answer. The silence between you was heavier than words, full of things you didn't say, full of everything you once could have been. You could feel his eyes on you as you grabbed a simple dress. Nothing about this marriage was right. Not the vows, not the smiles, not even the silence. And somewhere deep down, you both knew the real fight hadn't even started yet. You turned to leave, done with pretending, but before you could take another step, Jungkook's hand shot out and caught your wrist. The touch startled you, not because it hurt, but because of how firm it was, how desperate it felt beneath the control he tried so hard to keep. Why so much bitterness? He asked quietly, his voice low, almost pleading. What did I do that made you hate me this much? You froze for a second, the question twisted inside you like a knife. Then slowly you jerked your hand free, glaring at him. You, you said, your voice trembling with restrained anger, should be the last person asking me that. He didn't look away. Don't make me guess, Mayan, just say it. Don't make me repeat it. You snapped, stepping back. You already know. You knew then and you knew now. He clenched his jaw, frustration flickering across his features. If you're still angry about Nancy, still? You laughed bitterly. You talked like it was nothing, like she wasn't my best friend. He stepped closer, eyes dark. If you hate me because of that, then you should have asked her what really happened instead of deciding I was the villain. Your throat tightened instantly, the mention of her name like a ghost tearing through your chest. I wish I could, you whispered, voice cracking. But she's not here anymore, is she? The words hung heavy between you, filling the room with a silence that felt suffocating. Jungkook's expression softened for the briefest moment, a flicker of guilt, regret, maybe pain, but he quickly masked it behind his usual coldness. You looked away first, forcing your voice steady again. It doesn't matter. She's gone. The truth, the lies, whatever happened, none of it changes the fact that you're standing here as my husband now, and I can't stand it because you were the reason our friendship turned bitter and stopped talking to each other. His breath hitched slightly, but he didn't respond. You continued, each word sharp and deliberate. Don't ask me to smile, don't ask me to forgive, and don't ask me to forget. You might be able to live with the past, Jungkook, but I can't. Not when it keeps staring me in the face every morning. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there, silent, taking every word like a wound he refused to show. After a long pause, he finally said quietly, You think you know everything that happened, but you don't. Then enlighten me. He exhaled slowly, his gaze dark and tired. Not now, not when every word I say, you have already decided not to believe. You folded your arms, biting back the lump rising in your throat. Then stop talking. That's something you have always been good at. Silence. You turn away, heading for the door. Before stepping out, you whispered almost to yourself. Some wounds shouldn't heal. They are the only proof that it once mattered. And you left him standing there, still, silent, and alone with a past that refused to stay buried.